Well, hello, hotties. Before we get into the thick of today's episode, I've got like a little mini bonus lesson. So I am in a committed relationship. I feel like I needed to like warn everyone that it's not like a romantic relationship. Trust me, this single girl, there is no man on the scene. I wish John Hamm was on the scene. He is nowhere to be found. I am in a committed relationship with doing things for future Peter, my future self. And it's what is the time? It's 11:22 on a Wednesday night. And I knew that I had to record a podcast episode. I was meant to do it today. I kept getting a bit distracted with like other small little projects. And it's so interesting that I thought about tomorrow, my Thursday, and I was like, I could do this tomorrow, but I feel like it's going to make things really hard. And I feel like that you're going to finish Thursday and you're going to be exhausted. And it's really interesting that I caught myself and I was like, you have enough energy now. The people love your podcast. Like, they're going to be okay if you sound a little raspy and you're not 100%. Just do it. It doesn't need to be too long. You can always do a part 2. Just go and get it done. And it got me thinking back to when I first started my business, the Pilates studio back in 2009. And I remember wanting to do, I don't know how I even got this in my head that I was like, I need to do personal development. And I remember I had like this, it was like not a Walkman. It's like, those like disc things. It was like I know someone's probably screaming it out right now, but you would put the CD and you could have like cassette tapes as well. And it had like a boombox kind of thing, but it wasn't called that. I remember having that in my mum's house and turning the sound down really, really, really low and listening to her Anthony Robbins tapes and like writing all of these lists about my life and my business and who I was going to become and how I would do this really, really late at night. And I would wake up the next day and I would go to work or I would study. And it's really interesting whenever I do deep work late, I'm always transported like back in time to that period. And I remember past Peter and how she was just like, she was so motivated to get it. It's really interesting, even though I'm obviously like, I'm still her, but I'm older now. Like, I go back there and I'm like, yeah, let's do like the night shift for Peter. So I hope you enjoy this episode. It's interesting because the creative director, the unofficial creative director of this podcast, Emma Edwards from the Broke Generation, we were talking today and I was like, what do you think I should record? Like, what do you think about this? And we settled on a podcast episode about offerings, products and services. I think these days in the online business world, most people call like what they sell an offer. It got me thinking that I don't actually think that we've ever had a podcast on this, ever. How fun is that? What we're going to do in this episode, because I think that this could be a really big topic in itself, but I want to help you come up with a framework that if you have an idea that pops into your head about something that you could sell, is that it's a way for you to go and create that. Because I think sometimes we kind of feel at a loss of like, what's the order and how should I do this? And maybe you've created an offer before and it didn't do particularly well. And again, this can be an online offer. It can be an in-person offer. What I'm going to do for ease, because, I've been doing this for oh my gosh, it'll be 17 years. I think I'll be going into my 17th entrepreneurial year in June. I'm purely going to focus on all of the digital offers that I've created in my business. And the first digital offer that I ever created was a flop. How funny is that? And it was an ebook called How to Look Like a Supermodel in Your Selfie. The premise was amazing. I think I had issues with the validation of it. I had a lot of people in my head who told me I should do it to a younger market. And I should have done it to an older market. Like, I should have trusted myself. It's funny because I'm like, Peter, I needed you now back then. The DVD randomly went into digital downloads. Isn't it so funny that I had an ebook and I was literally selling a physical Pilates DVD? Then in every business or everything that I've done, I've kind of had some like digital asset that I've created that I have sold. Some of them have done extraordinarily well. Some of them have absolutely flopped. Some of them have been easier to sell. Some of them have been harder. Interestingly for me, and I think that this varies so much from business to business, I feel for me, stuff that is more expensive sells better. I feel the market that I have and the people that follow me, they kind of look at a smaller offer and they're like, oh yeah, but they know in themselves that when they spend more, they make a decision that they are going to go for it. So the offer is even representative of something with themselves and their identity, right? But, I believe that every single person has the ability to sell offers and products and services that can make like a whole lot of money. I think sometimes we make it harder for ourselves. And I think sometimes we need to remember is that the initial idea that we have can evolve. Now, where this is going to be good for some of you is if you're feeling like that you really get the perfectionist side in your head and you feel like that you can't move forward with something unless it's perfect. This used to be me until I realized that there were people who would kind of iterate multiple times. They would work out how it wasn't working. And I was still back here trying to get my idea off the ground. It made me realize that sometimes you just need to start and you can perfect it as you go on. And again, before we get into the guts of it, you are always going to find evidence for whatever you're thinking. And I say this because I have heard clients before say, oh, I have to wait until I have a bigger audience in order to sell this. And it's like they put that thought in their head and then they go and release an offer. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't sell. And they go back to that initial thought that they said. Then I also have other clients who have the tiniest databases who are like, oh, this is perfect because I can beta test with these people and I can really love them up. And then their offer does really well. It exceeds expectations. When you're crafting this, just allow everything to be fluid. Okay. And go into it with good intentions that is going to work out. You're not doing this to fuck things up. And I'm not saying that the first time that you release an offer that it's going to be perfect, but give yourself some grace to work things out, knowing that if this is truly something you want to do, you will go through the effort of perfecting and refining it. Now, I do have some tips later on in this podcast episode around pricing, because I often hear people say, I worry that I'm going to release an offer and I'm not going to break even. I've got you. But what is really good to start to do now is I want you to just look for evidence of people that are thriving, just selling whatever. And what I want you to do is to pay attention to the thoughts that you tell yourself and what you think when you see stuff. So for example, there's a woman who grew her following on TikTok and her name is Miss Excel, and she sells courses on Microsoft Excel. She had a $100,000 course sales day. It's really interesting. Like, I want you to just think about that for a second. And I want you to think about, a $100,000 course sales day on Excel. There's going to be a thought that pops up when you think that. When I saw that, I was like, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine that. Like, that's incredible. And then I've slowly changed that thought to one day that will be me. We're going to have a 100K day. Of course it will. What I want you to do is to make sure that when you're crafting your beautiful offer, whatever it is, if it's an ebook or if it's like a mastermind or if it's a 12-week program, whatever, is that you're not like building the crap underneath the surface as you're building this course. How I imagine this when I said that is it's like you could build a house. You don't want to fuck the foundations of this, not realizing that you're not putting the right ingredients in because you could build the most beautiful house on top and it's just going to crumble. So you want to be really conscious of the thoughts that you're thinking about when you see other people thrive. And what I want you to start to tell yourself is add this to your evidence bag. And you can say things like, oh my gosh, of course I'm seeing this now because this is going to be me. How cool is that? That's going to be me one day. If she can do that, I can do that. If she can make 100 grand selling courses on Excel, of course it's possible for me. That is the first part, okay? It is showing your brain that whatever you want is possible, and it is looking for data that it is possible. You want so much evidence to crowd out any negative belief, and you really need to start telling yourself this early on. Because if you're not quick to catch it, your bullshit will catch up with you, and you don't want that to get in the way of you actually releasing the thing. So I have a bit of a 5-step formula that we are going to go through, and it is extract your genius, shape the offer, enter the matrix, price for profit, and validate. Are we ready? Of course you are. So some of you may be already over this. You've got an idea of what you want to create or why you want to create it or how you want to create it. Depending on how long you've been thinking about this, in your mind, it could be really quite fully formed. Or you'll see someone else do it and you'll be like, that's what I want to do. Like you'll see someone do like a 2-week immersion and you'll be like, that's what I want to do. Or you'll see someone talk about something on Instagram and you'll be like, that's what I want to do. So the first step of the offer, and this is even really good if you feel like that you want to create something, but you feel kind of creatively blocked. I want you to, for the minute, let go of what the offer is. What I mean by that, you could be like, I want to do an ebook or an audio series or an immersion or a mastermind. Just forget that. I want you to think about the value and the transformation that you provide people. How do you make someone's life better? What are the compliments that you continually get told? Like if you were to kind of write down like the 10 things that people say to you, what are they? Now, you may be like, I don't know. That's okay. Guess what? Your awareness, like your little awareness button is now on. You get to go and collect that data. You go and ask people, right? Like just be bold, send an email out and just be like, hey, random, we're doing like a little task and I just want to know this. Ask people, put it up on Instagram, put it up on stories, put it anywhere. But just start to pay attention to what people say and the content that they kind of like respond to. The reason that this is important is quite often when we go and we think about creating an offer, we don't realize how much we get influenced by other people. So we get influenced by what we think the offer should be and then what we should do. Because maybe we look at what everyone else in the industry is doing and we're like, I'll go do that. Yeah, I'll go do that. You know, for example, with Business Bang, I look at my competitors and they all have these really tangible outcomes. It's like, come up with like, I don't know, a 30K month or do this or do that. It always felt funny to me because I'm like, I don't want to just teach a process to get to fucking 30K. I want to create something that you can go and make $1 million with, or you can start 3 businesses with. And it's like the skills translate. And what I worked out for me is the value and the transformation I think that I provide is one, I present a new possibility to people. And I have to thank my friend Emma for this. Because this came out of a conversation that we had. I just asked her, I said, how do you think how do I help you? Like, I want you to answer this. How do I help you? And this is really hard for me. I had to shut up and listen. If you do that, maybe like open the notes on your phone, like press the microphone. So it's going to like, dictate what they say or record it. My offer's me-shaped because I really know who I am and I know the value that I provide and how I make people's life better. So I've got some questions for you to think about. What do people always compliment you on? What compliments do you get continually? What do you do that you're good at that you do not necessarily enjoy? That is a nice one to think about because you'll realize in there, and there's a couple things you can do. You can always do that in a course, but that becomes, say, like the little prep work. And then I want you to think about what you hate about your industry. Like, what don't you like? What really grinds your gears? Like you open Instagram, you see something and you just like cringe or you just don't like it. It just grates you the wrong way. What is it and why? What you'll find here is underneath this is where your values are. This is where things are important to you. And this can influence the offer that you create. Now, for some of you, you may be like, oh, I just get really annoyed how like there's all these people in a room and there's just like, no, there's just, it's not personable or it's not this. Okay, amazing. You have just discovered an element that can go into your offer creation because you're like, well, it's really important for me that people get one-to-one access, or it's really important to me that people are seen and heard. Cool. We now know that. I want you to then brainstorm about how you're truly different. Like what makes you different? Imagine that there is a lineup. Everyone in your industry is there. How are you different? Like it's a pick me girl competition. The prize is $20,000. You have to pull some out-of-pocket shit. What are you saying? Remember, we're friends here. No one else has to know. You can say it. You can think it. You know, for me, I was a sex and dating writer. I also, and this is so funny, I'm like, I was an entrepreneur. I've had multiple businesses before I started talking about how to build a business. But I think, you know, the sex and dating writing, because it influences everything that I do. I think that's what truly makes me different. I'm also weird. I feel like I'm built perfectly for reality television and somehow I'm a business consultant. No one really knows how that happened, but that's okay. I love what I do. But that's the first part is you have to have an understanding of who you are and how you do it because it's very, very, very important. Because when you create something that feels like a deep embodiment of you, I know that sounds wanky, when it gets hard, you'll stick with it. If something doesn't feel like it's you, you won't do it again. Caveat here, There could be times in business where an offer really suits. You run it once, you do it live, and then you never do it again, and then you sell the self-paced version. I have an example of this. So I think I ran this 3 times, the business of email mini mind, and it was helping people sell email as a service. So if you were an email marketer, I would help you come up with your offers, how to price them, how to sell them, how to message them. I knew that I did not want to do this all the time. I was going to get sick of talking about audits. I was just going to get over it. It didn't feel like a good use of my time and the impact that I could have. But I knew that I would be great at this. So what I did, I ran it 3 times live. But what I did every time is I slowly changed up the format so that it became more like passive and self-paced. And now it's a completely self-paced offer. I ran it when I was in the energy, and now it's a self-paced offer where it's an upsell as well for GG. So if you go to the Give Good email shopping page, you'll see that as like a little order bump. So know that that is available for you as well. So when you've got how you're different and you're genius, what you hopefully will find is that there are some ideas bubbling to the surface on how you best show up. Is it that you are incredible at writing? Is it that you are amazing at holding space? Is it that you can create really beautiful visual elements and graphics? Like, what is it? But this is where we shape the offer. What we want to think about here is how the offer is going to look. And what you can think about as well is what suits your life. So I had a client call this week, and when we were talking about her program, I pulled a calendar out and we were looking at, she's like, I want a 12-week program. I'm like, okay, cool. It's going to have to start here. Or like, we were looking at the timing, and I mentioned to her, it'd be really good if you could do it again this year. Now, where sometimes that changes, if a client is like, I want to run this again, but I feel like there's not enough time, sometimes the offer will go to 10 weeks purely for a logistic reason. And we'll just make an element of that like a little self-paced module that they'll do in the prep work. And this is why I'm like, I don't ever want people to be attached on the fact that you're going to do a 12-week program or it's going to look like this. Because as you actually start to create it and as you start to form this, it will look different. Something to think about is you are never going to have a finished anything if you don't do the first draft first. No one ever gets a finished copy of a book without doing the first draft. And when you do the first draft, there's going to be some mess in there and it is going to look a bit different to the published copy. So this is your first draft. Just move forward knowing that you can refine it along the way. I have some questions for you to think about. What's your offer idea? Okay, just get it out. Even if it doesn't really make sense, just get it out. What is it about? Who is it for? How long ideally do you want the offer to go for? What involvement of you do you want in the offer? What is the big promise of the offer? Why is the customer coming to you? What is the dream endpoint of the offer? And then what are they getting for their money? I know that's a lot of questions. You're going to have to re-listen to this episode. Hashtag I have an agenda. We've got to get listens up. I'm joking. Can I let you in on a little secret? Can you actually keep it a secret? Can you like pinky promise? So we're actually going to do this as a live little workshop coming up. Oh my God, I know, I'm so excited. Don't tell anyone. The only person you're allowed to tell is me on Instagram by telling me that you are excited. What I have planned, you are going to wet yourself. It's going to be really, really good. I want to say though, don't hold back. I want you to keep moving forward. Remember, you can create multiple offers. So get this one out. I want you to get this one out before we actually get together and we can have our little catch up. How does that sound? So what you want to do from here, as you're like brainstorming that out, this is where I want you to stretch your offers. And this is one of my favorite activities to do. So let's pretend right now you're thinking of doing like a starter pack of some kind, like a starter pack for your industry. Like we'll just go with email marketing starter pack. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be $50. Okay, cool. What would it look like? $5. And for me, it could be like, oh gosh, maybe it's like giving them some content ideas and some templates. Okay, cool. What would it look like? $500. What would it look like? $5,000. What would it look like at $50,000? And what you can do here, you can do this in like a table. So you can write the offer, write all that stuff that I said, and then write, if it's just say, again, you can do this with anything. If it's like $75, great. What's it going to look like at $7? What's it going to look like at 750? What's it going to look like at 7,500? Bonus round, 75,000. And just play around with that. And you can see here how sometimes you may think that you want to do an ebook or you want to do this offer. You get really attached to like what you've seen. You're like, I want to have a $2,000 course. But sometimes you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh, actually, this would be really phenomenal if we did it this way. And that's why I like to kind of leave the like, not the deliverables, but like how it's actually going to look until later. And get all of the good stuff out, get the ideas out, get how you're different out. And then this is where we get to shape it. So what's cool here is you could have multiple different offers. The key is that you don't start with all of them. That's a really big point. You want to make sure that when you're coming up with your offer ideas that you're going to create and sell is that you don't want to confuse your audience. There are ways that you can do this. You can do things obviously behind the scenes in email. You can have upsells. You can have little bundles and order bumps. But I want you to just stay in motion. And sometimes the discipline is creating one thing. It's not doing everything. So the next part is we are going to enter the matrix. Unfortunately for both of us, Keanu is not there. But what is a really hot little system. So this was revealed to me by my friend when I wanted to go on a holiday and I didn't know where I wanted to go. And I was floating some very random ideas. One of them was Morocco. The other was Byron Bay. And then there was something where I think it was Junie, where there was the licorice factory. As you can see, these are all very different places. And my friend said to me, what's important for you on a holiday? And I said, sexy men, shopping, nice weather, and good food. And what she did is she put the holiday destinations at the top. So imagine like columns. So at the top of every column was the holiday destination. And then she made rows. And in the rows, she would like fashion, food, men. And I got to score it out of 5. So it's like, okay, cool. We're looking at Byron Bay weather. Oh my gosh, 5 out of 5. Men, 5 out of 5. Shopping, 3 out of 5. And what I worked out is, the highest score is where I should go. And what this did is it gave me a process on how I actually could choose a holiday by seeing what was important to me. So what I want you to think about is what is actually important to you in this offer. Is it that it's got really good like revenue potential? Is it that it feels like a really good branding exercise? Like this is something that you could be known for. Does it feel like deeply fulfilling for you? Does it have like good ascension? And what I mean by that, it's like, oh, they could buy this and then they could buy this next thing and then this next thing. How confident do you feel? And I want you to just come up with a couple of little things and create your own little matrix. Now, I've got one here. Guess what? You have to come to the workshop to do this. Unless you're in Business Bang, you can access this right now. I have to just hold some things back. But again, this is your business. You come up with what's important to you. And I want you to run your offer ideas through this matrix. And it may be very surprising what you see reflected back to you as the offer that you should start with, which is going to be one of the highest rated ones. So you can use that process anytime you are stuck in making a decision because it's going to get your thoughts out of your head onto paper or onto a screen for you to look at and then make a decision with. So you can see now how we've really distilled what we want to do into something and our tangible idea where we've kind of even validated the idea enough where we know it's a good idea, okay? I think sometimes when we look at offer validation, everyone is really around like, oh, validate it with your customers. Have we ever stopped to validate it with ourselves? And is this something we want to do? So right now you should be getting like multiple like neon signs, lots of ticks where it's like, yes, this is what I want to do. Yes, this is what I want to do. And it's important to get that data when we move forward and we feel maybe challenged in the process around creating this. We know that this is still a really good move for us to do. Then the next step is we price for profit. This is where I feel that people get sometimes a little bit stuck. What I want you to think about is a bad day's business model. And I want you to imagine that if you were unable to work or if something happened, is this going to be something that is going to deliver you really good profit? Okay, now not every offer is going to be super profitable. Not every offer is going to be the same in terms of your profitability margins. But we don't ever want to go out there and create an offer and feel like that we lose money in the process. If you are doing digital downloads or anything that doesn't involve your time, that is, of course, a different story. But who I'm speaking to here are the people that are having like a one-to-one element or a group element within a program. If you want help with this, we of course have this all in Business Bang. I've created something called like our Business Bang Fame Plan. And we have a whole section on offerings, creating new offers, and a lot of spreadsheets as well around profitability. So I will link that below. Any questions, hit me up on Instagram. We of course would love to have you. But what I want you to do is I want you to run a profitability spreadsheet on your offers. Where I want you to run this is if your offer involves any face-to-face or like online component. So it's something where it involves you. And what I want you to do is I want you to factor your time in there. So add yourself a nice little hourly rate. And what we want to work out is a couple things. We want to look at our investment into the program. So if it's costing us anything to run, we want to have a look at, our tax, so work out all of that. And we want to then get two numbers from this. We want to get our break-even person and our profit person. And this is really helpful if you feel that you've launched offers before, you've gone public, it doesn't sell, and then you run the risk of running through a program with one person. So what you can do, like just pretend we're in Business Bang right now. Now, Business Bang is evergreen. You can join anytime. Do not let that put you off. I know some of you bitches are going to be waiting. Don't wait, because remember, the results wait as well. What I could do, let's just pretend that it was going to be a 6-month container, start and finish date. If people didn't enter at that date, I was stuck with these people the whole way through. No more could enter. What I would do is I would work out, looking at my time, looking at my outgoings, making sure I'm paying myself. What is my break-even person that I know that I can run this, and this is my break-even person, and it could be 5 people. Then I want to work out my profit person. When are we entering really good profit? And I put that person down. And then anything on top of that is cream on top. Now, if you are not happy with that amount of people, then you have to adjust the price. So I see this sometimes where clients are like, oh, I'm going to have to do so much work. I'm going to have to sell 40 of these. That's a lot. And, I'm really not making too much of a profit. Amazing. We look at the price. We look at the price, or we look at the deliverables and we take some stuff out. And again, back to what I said, allow this to be fluid. When we create an offer, it's going to probably change from the initial idea that pops in, because light bulb moment for you all, you're a business. And sometimes you have to make a business decision to serve the business, because if you don't serve the business fails to run. So that is going to help you by getting, of course, the price. When we've got all of that sorted out, this is where we validate. This is very important. We validate the offer. There are so many ways for us to do this. The best way is to be paid for it. The best way to validate an idea is to get someone's money. But you can do so many different things. Like you could run an in-person event that is going to form a really beautiful course. So get paid for that, make it like an hour investment or 2-hour investment, and then go and create the thing. There are so many ways you can do it. You can validate with content. So I could validate an idea with a podcast episode. And I could be like, let me go and talk about this on the podcast, see the response. Let me work out, and this is really important, when we validate, we want to have our metrics worked out. Oftentimes people have unrealistic expectations on what success is. We expect 100% of the time. It doesn't work like that. So this is where you have your benchmarks. We had someone in a Give Good Email call recently, Mariana from Pink Ocean Virtual Solutions. And she was saying in a GGE call that she gets about 3 replies to every email sent. That's her benchmark. So if she's trying to validate an offer and she's getting about 3 replies, it's probably the same. It's like, oh, it could need work. Maybe it's the offer that doesn't need work. It's the messaging. Okay. Maybe the offer's fine. Now she can play around with the messaging, how she talks about it. Imagine though, if she gets 15 replies, bam, amazing offer, put it out there. However, how you've spoken to this, the customers that you've got, that is hitting it for them. So this is where ideally when we validate an offer, I find helpful is to look at how you're currently showing up and to ideally validate things that way. Now, here's another example. I put up a little reel this afternoon. It's interesting that it was just like a little teaser reel. Did it get amazing response? Let's have a look right now. It wasn't really anything to it. It got like 800 views. What was interesting? This was very interesting to me. So it's not the most liked reel. Did it have heaps of comments? No. But guess what? when I looked at every single person who liked it, I was like, oh, bang on. That's who. Like, it was so interesting, but I was like, oh, I love that these people are interacting. Great. This is a go. Like, this for me, I was like, this is a good move. If these people are paying attention, 2 thumbs up. I'm happy with that. So that's something that I want you to see as well, is sometimes when you're actually validating an offer, especially if you have a smaller audience and you have an understanding of like who is who, sometimes you're not going to get these like crazy fireworks, but you are going to be getting attention from the people that you want attention from. Another easy way to do this is to validate with a wait list. Now, of course, we've got an email marketing suggestion, and we love a wait list because it's a way to, obviously, it's like the first initial sell. Someone is paying with their email address. Attention has a dollar value. If you love Diary of a CEO podcast, you've probably listened to the one with Daniel Priestley where he also talks about validating with a wait list. So what you can do is you can create a wait list around the thing that you want to sell. My take is to keep things a bit fun, a little bit ambiguous, keep it hot. Hot is a strategy. You don't need to put too much information on there, but you need to get enough information for people to be curious. So what I would also recommend is if you are doing a wait list that we want to segment, make sure that you are collecting enough information so that you can kind of market to the people or get them to help formulate the idea when they're in there. If you have a fully formed idea, you could even put this out there. So you may be like, right, I want to run a 4-week immersion to get people to go from idea to finished offer. And I know some of you are like, yes, can we do that? 100% you can in business, bang. What I could do is I could put up a wait list where it's like idea to finished offer in 4 weeks. And then it could just have some simple copy. It's like 8 sessions, get that idea out of your head and paid with cash in your bank account, something like that. That's terrible copy. In my defense, it is midnight. Something like that, I'd whack that up, because this is business. I would be like, great, let's get their first name, their email address, maybe their Instagram handle. I would then do some segmentation where I'm like, what information do I need? I could be like, how much money do you want to make from this offer? That's fun. That is a really fun way to do this. Because if you have people that want to make $200, that also can give you information around the pricing. Okay. So notice how you haven't said, how much do you want to pay for this? What's your budget? We're not asking that. We're like, how much do you want to make from your thing? You may have some people who are like, I want to make $1 trillion. Okay, cool. Like, fun. But you may have some people who are like, I want to make $20,000. All of a sudden, when you're hearing that, if you were going to charge $1,000 and you were in your head being like, oh, this is way too expensive. Well, it's not, because they want to make 20 grand. They go into it with the goal to make $20,000. So $1,000 investment for a finished offer is pocket change. It's also seeing where your people are at. So if you have people and you're like, everyone's saying they want to make $500, okay, cool. You've got 2 options here. We can make the offer smaller. Maybe we release something initially where we're like, hey, this is taking a little bit longer, but we've actually created an ebook to get you started, like a quick start, get started, get this done in 4 weeks. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I think these people have it in them to do something more, but we need to do some work on socials. I need to address some beliefs and some sales blocks before we actually get to the sale. So let me do that now. And you can do that with your content ready for you to launch. How fun is that? I think what stops people is sometimes we get really overwhelmed, which is why I've tried to give you some form of process. So I hope you've loved this. I hope you've gotten so much out of it. As I said, you've had a little secret revealed. Get excited. You are going to love what is coming. Hottie, I love this. I love this. I love you. I love you just as much as my bed. I am so excited to go to bed. My eyes, like they are struggling to stay open right now. That's okay. Do you know what I love? Actually, oh my gosh, I love this. Best feeling in the world. It's the best feeling in the world when you get into bed and your head hits the pillow and you know you've done your best work that day. Holy shit, that is an incredible feeling. Okay, hotties, it's officially 12:12. That's some kind of angel number. Someone slide into the DMs, tell me some sexy news. Tell me I'm in a marry John Hamm, be a millionaire, be hot my whole life, be fantastic. Just make it up. But hotties, I've loved this. I'll see you on the next episode.